right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani here in the Fan Cave. Andrew Fillipponi is live up at 93.7 The Fan. And we have a lot to talk about it. 412-575-2600. Hit us up on Twitter at KDPomp, at the Pony Express. Beginning with the fact that the Penguins continue to need help. They've needed help for the last week. They didn't get it on Saturday, they didn't get it last night, and they didn't get it tonight. And this is the lesson learned about not taking advantage of stuff early in the season, Andrew. And they're going to fall short. Tomorrow's game is rendered meaningless because of what happened tonight. Both the Capitals and Red Wings won. It didn't really matter what happened to Detroit after John Tortorella pulls the goalie. I guess he had to do it, but I thought he did it a little bit too early. They had some good shots right before they did that, so it was a 1-1 game, and then TJ Oshie gets the empty netter to win it 2-1. Penguins are done, second year in a row. Your thoughts?
Well, he did it to shaft the Penguins, and I know initially it made sense because they needed to win a regulation game. They couldn't have the Capitals get the game to overtime because that would have eliminated the Flyers. But, Bob, when Tortorella made that decision, the Red Wings had forced overtime. So they were done. It didn't matter what they did in that game because Detroit getting a point eliminated them from playoff contention. We know how much the Flyers hate the Penguins. We know how much Tortorella hates the Penguins. I'm convinced he did that to shaft them. And so they scored. They go down 2-0, and he's probably giggling right now because he got to drag the Penguins down with him. I'm not happy with Tortorella. I'm not happy with the Penguins either. I'm not. They deserve it. This is the bed they made. They got to sleep now in it for a long time because there's no first-round pick, and free agency isn't until July 1st. So we won't have a big Penguins thing to talk about, Bob, until we're getting ready to put our fireworks up in the sky here. That's how bad it is. That's how long this offseason is going to be. I'm probably not going to watch the playoffs. Let's do the NBA playoffs instead, Bob. Let's talk about that.
I love
Let's do the NBA playoffs.
I love both the NHL and the NBA. I watched that Pelicans game tonight.
I can't watch Washington, New York. Sorry. I can't watch Ovechkin and the Capitals against the Rangers
Let me tell you, though, Andrew, I'm looking back. We watched both games almost simultaneously. I don't know if they knew exactly what was going on. All they knew is they had to get to regulation.
Torch knew. He's got the iPads, and he's got the earbud in, too.
I don't know if it was that the way you described it. I just don't. I think they thought they had to come away with a regulation win, and that's the way they were looking at it. And it just didn't happen that way. Bottom line is the Penguins have nobody to blame but themselves. I mean, two of the aspects that I thought were in their advantage going into the season because of Karlsson were power play, overtime. They have a skill advantage, and yet it was not an advantage. It was a disadvantage, and so were leads in the third period. They could not close out games. They lost games they should have won twice to Ottawa earlier. They got routed by Arizona, a bad hockey club out there. They blew leads in Colorado, Calgary, Detroit. I mean, again, it comes down to their own sloppy play. All right, real quick, I'm going to ask you about the Pirates tonight, and here's my question about them as we take your calls at 412-575-2600. Jared Jones had 89, 80, 85 pitches in his first three outings. 5 innings, Andrew. I mean, he was dynamic tonight. He was unhittable, but yet they took him out.
Give me a pitches limit, not an innings limit. If you did not want Jared Jones to pitch more than 80 times tonight or 85, okay. But why set it at 5 innings? What if it took him 75 pitches, Bob, to get through 5? Would he have been allowed to pitch 5? I mean, that's what I don't get about it. Set an actual number of pitches, not in innings. So what if he had a perfect game through 5 innings and had a Maddox going, had thrown 40-something pitches? He's still out after 5? I mean, that makes no sense to me. It's got to be more refined than that. Everything in baseball is so granular now. So I didn't get that explanation. And you know what, Bob? That cost them the game. Let's just be honest, because then they had to tax their bullpen and extend their bullpen. And those guys, they've been very good so far this year, but they weren't in this game because Jones should have pitched more innings and should have put the Pirates in better position to hand the ball off to guys later in the game, not earlier.
No, I agree. If you're going to have a pitch limit, fine. Tell me what it is or tell him what it is. 59 with 50 strikes. he could have gone another 2 more innings, and then he would have gone into the later part of that bullpen. Anyway, we got to take a break. Want to hear from you. We got a lot of calls I see already, Andrew, so we're going to rock and roll with those coming up. It's 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. KDKA Plus 93.7 The Fan. We'll be right back. All right, here is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night from the Pirates. Jarrett Jones now has 7 or more strikeouts in each of his first 4 career games. He's 4th Major League player since 1893 to accomplish this. Again, which is stunning to me that over 59 pitches, he's not in there the rest of the way. Andrew, we got a ton of calls, so let's roll through them. A lot of people want to talk. Our number 1 Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night will be Jim in Beaver Falls. He is on line 5. Hey, Jim.
Hi, Bob. I just got out of the hospital after 2 weeks, and all of a sudden my blood pressure's back up again because of tonight's game and last night's game. Joe and Neil both highlighted that we left 20 men holding the bat on a third called strike. That can happen. We've stranded a number of batters. The bats have gone silent. It seems that there's a timidity that's spreading, and it seems to me like we're going to evaporate this.
Well, Jim, I'll tell you this about their offense. I mean, first of all, I keep preaching patience, but then I'm going to get to the point where, you look at some of these numbers, batting averages and OPSs, Andrew, and they are not good. They're leaving a lot of guys on. O'Neal Cruz continues to swing at pitches that he shouldn't and take pitches that really he shouldn't. They got to snap out of this, and I'm wondering now about Henry Davis when Grandal is ready to play. He starts a rehab.
Yeah, Derek Shelton was on our station today and talking about, take it easy. O'Neal Cruz, coming off a year without playing baseball, got hurt in April last year. Henry Davis, be careful criticizing the guy because, he's being a major league catcher for the first time in his career. Bob, when we were talking about the Pirates being an 80-win team, I don't remember pumping the Jets and the brakes on these guys. All I heard about O'Neal Cruz was 30-30, 40-40. He's going to be their best player. Now it's, there's rust, and he's going to get off to a slow start, and that's expected. That's not part of the equation for me. If the Pirates are going to be a good team this year, O'Neal Cruz needs to do more than just take baby steps this year. He needs to be an all-star caliber player, and he is striking out way too much. And he doesn't walk it all either. I believe right now he leads the National League in strikeouts, and he doesn't have the power that makes up for it.
He's also
at least not yet.
Yeah, second in swings and misses, I just checked. So he's not making contact. And, he's a guy who puts the ball in play. You should get good things from that. Let's move along to David in Washington. Hey, David, welcome to the Ireland Contracting Sports Call. What's up?
Hey, Bob. Good evening. Hey, and don't call him Andrew. Call him what I call him, the Pony Express. Hey, here's my question. I'm out of my lane a little with hockey, but in your opinion, both of you, with this new ownership group, and I hope this doesn't happen, but if they decide to do a complete rebuild, is there any scenario where if he would agree to it that they would trade Crosby to get players for a rebuild?
I don't think it's going to go that way. I think Crosby probably already has it figured out that he's going to sign here for another 3 years, and I don't. He's not the issue. The bad thing about this, Andrew, when you look at it, for 2 years in a row now, Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin played every single game, and for those 2 years, they missed the playoffs. Whereas before they'd miss, 15, 20 games, you can understand it, but this is like, it feels like wasted opportunities.
Because it is. It absolutely is. Sidney Crosby played his heart out this year. He got to 40 goals again. He carried that line. And he's going to have nothing to show for it. Just a long offseason up there in Nova Scotia, skating around and getting himself in shape. Again, way too early, prematurely. He deserved a lot better. Evgeny Malkin deserves some of the blame. It seemed like it took too long for that switch to get flipped with him. Maybe his parents have to come over here earlier in the season next year to get him going, seriously. But, yeah, I mean, it is a darn shame. There's no, in my opinion, Bob, with this team in particular, there's no injury excuse like this player was out for so long or this group of players missed so many games that it gives them a free pass for missing the playoffs. They don't have that built-in excuse that other teams have had. Maybe in football, a quarterback's out for the year, like when Ben went down and Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges had to play. This team does not get that out, and that's why I think significant changes should be made, but you know what? They won't. I think the only big change is that they'll scapegoat the power play coach, Todd Reardon, and then they'll just rearrange the chairs on the Titanic. Jari will be back next year, and Carlson will be back next year. And I don't know, Bob. Maybe you have a different opinion on this. Malkin will be back. Letang will be back. I don't see some kind of substantial, gigantic trade that changes the complexion of the franchise.
No, unless they get an okay from a guy like Malkin or Letang or somebody like that, or figure out a way to move on from Carlson so he could save some money. The only way they could do it, because they don't have many helpful hands coming up in the minors. We've seen some of these guys. But they'd have to spend some
Bob,
money
they
in
gave
free
them all
agency.
no movement clauses. They gave these guys the right
know.
to say, no, we want to stay here.
Which is why I
we
hate
don't
that.
care if the team is in a bad position.
Well,
we don't care that you've missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. We're going to do what we want. We want to play here. Tough luck. Too bad. That's what I mean.
Well,
You're bringing it up. It's not a good situation that they gave them that.
I've said a million times, I hate no-trade clauses. When they were introduced into sports, it's the worst thing that can happen because you tie up your own organization. Now, these are great players.
They're tied in knots
there's-
right now. They're
right.
tied in the knots
But
they
the only
teach
way
in
they
Boy
can
Scouts.
The only way they can do it is to save some money. Carter goes, try to get rid of a high contract, whether it's for Cal, Carlson. I don't know if that's possible. Get some money in free agency, bring in some people who can help you, and we'll see how they go from there. Because they have some guys in their system, but I'm not confident they can come up and become regular players like a guy like Drew O'Connor has done. We have an interesting tweet here from Ed Walter 87. He says, well, he believes Sullivan needs to go, which I don't think will happen. He says, where were St. Ivany and Shea at the beginning of the season? Ludwig, Sullivan hates younger players. He didn't when they won 2 Stanley Cups in a row. He brought a lot of them up, and he knew those players, which is why he probably brought those up. We got more calls coming out. Let's go to Brad in Brookline, who joins us right now. Hey, Brad.
Hey, guys. Andrew, I like you, but to claim that Philly and Tortorella screwed the Penguins is ridiculous. I mean, he had to pull the goalie. They had to win the regulation.
No, they didn't. The game in Detroit was already sealed their fate. They were out.
Yeah, but it was just a couple of minutes. There was not a lot of time that elapsed. He probably made up his mind, and I don't know if he's looking at iPads at that point. He's coaching. And
There's people giving him video replay in their ear instantaneously during these games, Bob.
Bottom line, though, they're operating to try to win a game. His only hope is to. I don't know if I believe that.
What do you mean? The game was tied. They could have gone to overtime and won it there. It didn't make a difference at that point. They weren't losing. The game was tied.
But
hey, if you guys want to say the Flyers do things on the up and up and have the best intentions, go right away and say it.
I'm saying that
I know.
don't
it's
know.
the Flyers we're talking about. They're a despicable franchise.
You're making a claim based on your hatred
Yes, I am
of them.
making a claim.
I don't know if I buy that. I'd like to see for sure what happened with that. I was watching both games that are almost simultaneous. It was just a minute.
Well, you probably were on delay, Bob, because you had it streaming, so you're way behind. That's what happens. You didn't have it on. It wasn't a real satellite transmission.
I don't know.
You probably were streaming it.
I'm not going to go that far. And they had opportunities to take that lead. I thought they played a pretty good third period. Washington did not have a lot of shots like they did last night against Boston. All right, let's squeeze in here. We got Scott in Lebanon County. Hey, Scott, what's up?
Hi, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call tonight. You know, I can't say I'm surprised that the Penguins didn't make the playoffs again this year. You know, the team struggled mightily. They blown leads. The power play was, in my mind, historically awful. And if any changes need to be made to the Penguins, the one change that needs to be made is giving Mike Sullivan a dump. You know, Sully and Fenway Sports are the reasons why the Penguins are in the shape they're in right now because of BS like this. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, listen, the bottom line is they've made it pretty clear he's not going anywhere. They will make changes to their coaching staff. I believe that. They're also going to have to make changes to their personnel. And their goaltending situation may not look anywhere near the same. I'm going to be very curious how they handle that, Andrew. That's going to be the big item moving forward to me to start at least. Now, you said, and you're right, it's going to take a few months to figure out what they're going to do and who they retain, if they can make a deal or two, whatever the case may be. But I don't know what to think about the goaltending.
Any NHL team is justified to fire its coach if it goes 6 years without a playoff series victory, especially when in those half dozen years they are trying to win. They're not tanking. They're not rebuilding like the Pirates. They're trying to win the entire time. And so Mike Sullivan, I think, is a very good coach. But coaches run their course in one place in the NHL all the time. Dan Bylsma had the most wins in Penguins history when he was fired. 2 coaches later, they find Mike Sullivan. He helps them win back-to-back Stanley Cups. So sometimes a change in voice and leadership is needed. and you go this long without a playoff series victory, and now back-to-back years without making the playoffs, they would totally be within their right, Bob, to move on from him. But I'm with you. I don't think they will.
All right, we're due for a break. We'll try to squeeze in Cole, Tony, and Jim when we come back. You're watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan.
Hey, Bob, tonight we're learning new details about human remains discovered in Fayette County, plus why some people in Washington County are at risk of not having their votes counted, and the latest developments on the runaway barges in the Ohio River, all coming up at 11, Bob.
All right, real quick, let's go to Cole in Harrisburg. Cole, make it quick.
So earlier tonight, the Pirates pulled Jared Jones after 5 innings, and this has definitely been his best start of the year. They've let Jones go at least 5 2/3 innings and 80 pitches through his 3 prior starts. I personally don't at all agree with the predetermined decision to pull him after 5 innings instead of a pitch limit like you guys said. So do you think that internally they have worries about his arm, or are they just trying to take extra?
I think everybody worries about arms, Andrew, and sometimes I wonder about that. I mean, he didn't look like he was stressing out in any way.
Bob, if they're going to max these guys out at 55, 60 pitches, tell me why Paul Skeens isn't here.
Yeah.
He can do that in the minor leagues. Why can't he do it for the Pirates?
Great point. And he's already, if that's the case, bring him up and let him go 4 innings. I mean, bottom line is they're waiting, and I know why they're waiting. But the bottom line is Jones looked effortless tonight. And I'd like to know why it wasn't a number instead of inning. 59 and 50 strikes. You can't do any better than that, Pony.
Bob, I lied to you. I will watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I'm adopting Vancouver, Jimmy Rutherford, Rick Tocchet, and a lot of ex-Penguins. Let's get it done.
I like that. I may go with them, too. I have a lot of respect for those guys. All right, Pony, thanks. Appreciate it, as always.
See you,
we'll
Bob.
do it again tomorrow night at 10:35. Join us right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Good night.